Happy Monday, everybody. National Championship Monday, everybody. Purdue takes on Connecticut at around 9:20 Eastern time. So we're going to get you pretty much up there before they tip it off. All right. Well, meanwhile, my name is Scott Morganroth, Motor City Madmouth. This is Monday night. Please be joined by George Eichhorn. George, welcome back.
Hi, Scott. Hi, Mark. Good to be back on talking that baseball, man. Opening week is under our belt.
All right. Okay, the barber, welcome back.
Thanks, fellas. It's good to see you both, as always, on a beautiful Monday evening. It's about 65, 70 degrees out here still in Maryland tonight, so life becomes a little brighter when it's warm day and night.
Yeah, it's okay. Hey, listen, we get nice weather all year round. I'm not complaining about good old southern Florida temperatures by any
Listen,
means.
fella, I don't care about that weather down there. I can't live there now.
Well, that's why you live there, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, all right, Joshua Dorr wants to know how many haircuts you gave today.
You know what? I gave myself one. That was it today, Josh. That was it. Just one nice, smooth, fresh cut.
All right, let me go over some of the topics that we're going to talk about tonight. In a moment, everybody's going to give their national championship prediction. We're going to talk about the Oakland A's, and the bold prediction I made last week is what I call an "oh, it told you so." Okay, the Miami Marlins lost to the Yankees tonight. We'll get into them. We're going to talk about Tommy John tonight. Something came up that I want to get out there. And Shohei Ohtani. Mark, I'll let you take the lead on that topic. And then we'll be able to get everybody ready for the national championship. All right, with that said, okay, let's lead off with predictions. George, some predictions for tonight. Connecticut versus Purdue. Who do you have?
Well, I'm going to stick with who I had originally, and that was Purdue. I know that obviously they're the underdogs. I mean, this Connecticut team is quite a machine, obviously. They've got everything going for themselves. But I'm going to stick with my Big Ten team, Purdue. They've been hungry for this title for a long, long time, many, many years. And they have to play a perfect game, guys. I mean, the only chance they got to win is a perfect game. And I know that's asking for an awful lot, but I'm going to say Purdue 80 and Connecticut 77.
Okay, Joshua. I love what he said. Isn't this baseball talk? Yeah, but of course we're going to give our predictions. Josh, get real, bro. I mean, this is a national championship. So, yeah, we got that right. We're going to get to that in a moment. But I like the way this guy, I got to get him on the air. This guy has potential. All he has to do is go out there and show up. But he's going to get there sooner or later. All right, Mark, give me your call on this.
I'm going to ride Purdue right here. I think that the big man in the middle, the 7-footer, he should have been player of the year 2 years in a row. He very well could be. He's a legit player. I hope he transcends, to be quite honest with you, the NBA back to what it used to be with the big man running the middle of the floor and them shooting the ball inside the arc instead of outside the arc. But I like Purdue 85-75. I do. Yeah. I think right. they'll use what they have in terms of weapons down low and take advantage of that.
All right, Joshua's got Purdue as well. And you know what? I'm going to do it. But, my reason for going with them, though, is where Virginia lost to the number 1 seed or the number 16 seed being a 116. They came back to win it the following year. I see a repeat of this tonight where Purdue got embarrassed last year. They're going to come back and win it as well. So all 4 of us are on the Boilermakers train there. And I'm going to go 83-77 in favor of the Boilers. So.
Okay.
All right. Time to revisit a topic that these two guys weren't sure about, but I was sure. Okay. Is it my I told you so moment? Yeah, I'd say so. Why not? After all, Mark Meredith didn't hesitate to think about mentioning it to me the day it happened, right, Mark? Admit it.
Yes, okay. Sir. Soon as I heard it, I texted you.
Yeah, you sure did. All right. We got Blozo. We got Joshua Dorr. Who else we got? These guys put on a heck of a show on Thursday on Pundits Fun. And man, I ended up with these guys here, going after Jacob Christer. Josh was telling me today, I'm surprised you let that whole thing go as long as you did. I said, how am I going to stop you guys from taking your shots? I said, we had a good show going. You don't change it up if you have something really good going. And we rolled with them. These guys were exceptional. These guys are the kings of the chat. And when Joshua's other half comes on, then we got the kings and the queen of the chat. So with that said, we'll talk about the Oakland A's. They're trucking 90 minutes to Sacramento. So, George, obviously you didn't think they were going there, but who saw this coming besides me? Was it a surprise to you, George?
Well, not really after I gave it some more thought. The thing is that the proximity thing is an important thing, not only for fans, but also for the club. Because you got to remember their training facilities, their workout stuff, everything is at that Coliseum right now. And the families. Think about this. All the ball player families, the front office families all probably live, obviously, in a greater Oakland area. Some of them in Frisco, obviously, and other suburbs. But so when you look at the big picture, which you obviously did better than me, Scott, here I went out and said Portland, Oregon. Well, I was trying to think of West, but I wasn't in the right state. I was a little bit too far away in Portland. So I got to hand it to you, Scott. Sacramento, good sports town. Sacramento Kings. I mean, San Jose Sharks. They're not that far away, but I mean that's a good area for pro sports in that general vicinity. So no, I think it's a win-win. I really do. The minor league team is going to obviously share the facilities. That'll be interesting to see how that's worked out because I don't know what they're going to do about, like I just mentioned, workout equipment. I'm sure they'll try to share all that stuff, but they may have to build a temporary workout facility for the athletics. I'm not sure about that. We'll worry about that at another time. But congrats, you called it right, Scott.
Thanks. All right, let's go back to the chat room real quickly. Joshua Dorr was going back to pundits, and I do want to go ahead and make a quick reference. It was definitely a cutthroat show, but the biggest rule that you have here is if you have a good show going, you have to roll with it. I don't care, and then you do what you have to do the following week. So, but meanwhile, the chats are coming in right away. So, all right, give me your takes on this, Mark.
I'm going to spin it a different way.
Okay.
The first thing George said was basically the fans. George, they don't have fans. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in this predicament. I think they needed to find a location that offered them just about what they needed in terms of all that workout equipment and everything, and get into a new place that would appreciate some Major League Baseball. I mean, like, from my perspective, why you would stick in that area, I understand. Okay, your guys live there, your administration lives there, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's a business, and if my business isn't thriving in a particular area, I'm going to pick my business up and I'm going to move it someplace that I think it will thrive at. And it's not going to be in Sacramento. They're not going to fill a stadium in Sacramento. I know they probably don't care at this point, but it's going to be a few years that they spend time there. How are they going to get people back in the stands to put a penny in someone's pocket? Honestly, like it blows me away to think about that.
Okay, Blozo, do I eat Chick-fil-A? Yeah, I do like it. They have pretty good food over there. So, okay, now let me put it to you this way. Number one, they're playing at Suter Health Park, which will hold 14,000 people with the lawn seating. Sacramento River Cats are currently there. John Fisher is the owner of the A's, and one of his best friends is Vivek Ranadive, the Kings owner. Now, when you put all that into perspective, okay, here's the thing. Okay, you know that Ranadive feels that if you can do what happened in Oklahoma City, when obviously the New Orleans Pelicans had to go there temporarily, you audition for an opportunity to get a team in case the Vegas thing falls through. That's item number one. So you got a 3 or 4 year audition to keep Vegas honest, right? Hey, we could stay here. They'll figure out the stadium later on. And number two, Mark, when you look at the A's gaudy attendance figures, if they put 8, 10, 12,000 in that stadium, it's practically a sellout. And you know what? There's nothing like the sound of the crowd, but the problem in Oakland, you can hear the sound of the echoes, okay? And there aren't many. So I think it's in everything to gain, nothing to lose. They had to do something temporarily. And what I believed in Sacramento when I made the call to begin with is the proximity that it's only 90 minutes away from Oakland. And Oakland had numerous chances to keep this team. And I think in the end, when you can't agree on a stadium for the better part of 10 to 20 years, you're right, Mark. I'll take it. I'm with you. You got to move your business elsewhere. Bear in mind, this will be the A's fourth move in their history. You think about it over the years. What do you have? Philadelphia, then you have Kansas City, you have Oakland, and now you're going to have the Las Vegas area, and you might as well add Sacramento, albeit it's temporary. So, they don't mind going out there and taking the moving truck. So I just felt it made too much sense for me not to, because they weren't far away, and Sacramento is not all that far. It really isn't. So,
guys, can I add this then?
Sure.
I think a better move for them as opposed to Las Vegas would have been Charlotte. Charlotte is chomping at the bit to have baseball there. They've been doing everything they can for how long now to get baseball in Charlotte. I think that from that perspective, I don't understand why these teams are going to Vegas, other than the fact that I know it's loaded with money and they're going to have a payoff there, which makes sense. Like I said, it is a business, but they would fill a stadium in Charlotte every night that team plays home. Every time that team has a winter promotion, spring training, they would fill the stands wherever they're doing spring training at. I mean, I do, in my heart, I believe that when you're going to pick up and move a professional team, you need to move it to a place that you're going to get 100% fan support. And I know a bunch of people who are behind the Charlotte movement, and there are a lot of them. And
all right, but the question is, do they have a stadium plan in place? I haven't heard. Yeah, they always say in Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. But I haven't heard any stadium plans. I haven't. So but I do believe though that they could get an expansion team, and probably will. With Nashville would be the most logical spot. I don't know whether they go to Canada, Montreal. So if I were going to go out there and say the odds-on favorites get expansion teams, Mark, I'm with you. Charlotte and Nashville would make the most sense. But right now, in the Oakland situation, they wanted to keep the team out west. Yes, everybody's jumping on the Vegas money. Think about it. You have the NBA is thinking about doing it eventually as well. So they're already planting their seeds. So I understand where you're coming from. I don't think it's Charlotte's time yet, but I still need to hear a concrete stadium plan before I can be convinced that Charlotte has anything. Because I don't think they can expand their current stadium in I guess they call it Uptown. I mean, everybody calls it downtown everywhere else. They call it Uptown, but whatever. In their immediate, what we consider downtown area. We'll see. And I'm sure we'll go ahead and explore that topic down the road. But meanwhile, again, the signs I saw with Sacramento wasn't far from where they're at. And it's on the West Coast, so you don't have to change anything, time zones, and it's a good interim spot. And I couldn't think of anything that made more sense than this, because we were floating out places in Texas that made no sense because you have the monopoly between the Astros and the Rangers. So none of those made sense. Portland, smaller market, right? Sacramento, the capital city. Salt Lake, maybe, but we're at where we're at, and to make things even more interesting, they've already trademarked the Sacramento, or they're filing for trademarks of the Sacramento Athletics and the Sacramento A's. So I'm sure there'll be some sort of things.
That'll be interesting. I wonder if they'll change up the colors a little bit.
I don't hold your breath. All right, but you know what? We can take a breath while Candy Ebling comes on and takes care of business for us, right, Candy? Go ahead.
Can't hear you.
Of course, she muted herself. There we go.
Thank you, everybody.
Now we get.
Now you can hear me. Thank you, everybody, for subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, hit that red subscribe button. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can hear us on iHeartRadio, Google, Apple, or wherever you get your podcast. If you have topic ideas, you can always email us, southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you would like to check out our website, it's www.southfloridatribune.com, where you will see the writings of the famous George Eichhorn, the famous Motor City Madmouth, and others, including Marlins, updates from FAU, USF, the Miami Hurricanes, the Dolphins, the Jaguars, the Detroit Lions, you name it, it's up there. And of course, as always, Scott wrote a book. Please go out and get it. Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and on Kindle. Google, and it's available actually on Apple and soon to be on Google as well. If you haven't gotten your copy, go get it today. Back to you, Scott.
Well, you're not going too fast, Candy, because Josh has a question for you. Do you do this off the top of your head, or do you have a script?
Josh, I actually do this off the top of my head. That's why it doesn't sound scripted, because it changes all the time. I feel if I read it off a script, it would be too monotone and too. I like to just throw it off the hip and put voice inflections in here. Well, thank you, Joshua. I appreciate that. And question from Blazo22. We are working on that as we speak to get hats and shirts and sweatshirts all available with South Florida Tribune on them. So watch for details. Thank you for asking. Back
Great
to the
question.
show.
Great questions. There's your update. Sorry, we'll talk about the Miami Marlins. Max
Hey,
Meyer
Scott.
won the. Yeah.
Real quick, I'm sorry for cutting you off, but Blozo asked me this question. What's my favorite piece of memorabilia behind me? Blozo22, let me tell you a little story. Back in my younger days, I was a autograph guy, and the Los Angeles Kings were in town. So I went to the Pittsburgh Civic Arena at the time, the Igloo, and I kind of knew where the players would get off the bus at or walk up from the visiting players, and waited for Gretzky. He didn't sign going in, so we knew what hotel he stayed at. So went to the hotel with my buddy, and he got off the bus, and it was just my buddy and I, and he signed an 8x10 for me. Him and Lemieux have both signed this 8x10 of them facing off in an All-Star game, 1990 All-Star game in Pittsburgh. It was really cool. So the next year I go back, same thing, except I had that Gretzky shirt with me. So we go to the hotel, wait for him to get off. It's just my buddy and I, and Gretzky gets off the bus, and he goes, "Oh my God, I remember you guys from last year," which was really, really neat. Like, he remembered our faces. And that Gretzky shirt back there is signed by Wayne Gretzky, right out of my hands. And that's probably one of my favorite things I've ever gotten. I know there's a Lemieux back there, Rocky Blyer, stuff like that. But man, meeting Gretzky was really cool. And having him remember my face, that was an honor to me.
That's really good stuff. You're definitely getting some applauses out here with Josh and Blozo, that's for sure. Yeah, these guys are big hockey guys, and they enjoy hearing your story. Good. Interrupt me all day long when you come up with stories like that. I have no problem.
Yeah.
All right, now let's take care of the Marlins, okay? Yesterday, they won their first game of the year thanks to a great pitching performance by Max Meyer. They were 1-9 after yesterday, avoiding an 0-10 start, but unfortunately tonight, the Fish lost 7-0, and now they are 1-10. What can I tell you? You know, here's a team that's lost Sandy Alcantara. They've lost some pitchers for an extended period of time. I think Yuri Perez is done for the year. And I believe, I'm not sure who the other one is, but they're having starting pitching injury issues. And Kim Ng is gone too. And I think she did an incredible job building that team. And I know they brought in Peter Bendick. So, and now Skip Schumacher, I hear the Marlins have voided the option for 2025. So it almost sounds like to me, Skip's in a lame duck situation. We'll get more information on those things as they go out there and develop. But from an outsider's standpoint, George, what do you think about Miami Marlins? I'm planning to get up there in May, obviously when they take on the Tigers. But currently this team, which was just a playoff team a year ago, looks like a mess.
Yeah, it's really sad so far. I know teams can get off to bad starts and still recover, because we all know baseball's a long, long season, 162 games. But you take a look at some of these batting averages, and this is kind of the problem that the Detroit Tigers are having right now too. Guys that they counted on to hit really well are not coming through. Erez, as you mentioned, you know, he's 250, okay, but he can do better than that. Now, De La Cruz is doing fine. He's 292. You look at Bell. They used Bell today as the DH, 214 only. You got Garcia in right field, 154, batting 154. Right. Rivera at third, 200. The catcher today was Fortis. He's hitting 059. Come on. And Brujan is looking for his first hit of the year. I mean, there's too many guys that you wanted to depend on for hitting, that are not performing. And again, this is a trend that I see early in many teams, but Miami. And then, like you mentioned, Scott, they're hit with the injury bug too in the pitching staff. So, Luzardo took the loss today. He's 0-2 already with a 7.20 earned run average, which obviously is ridiculous. So all this being said, things are just not clicking at all. And they really, really got to get off the schneid and start winning. 1-10 right now. I am surprised. I thought they'd be better than this, at least a 500 team going in. But they just have to step up their game. They got to hit better, run better, field better, all those things, and pitch better too.
And of course, they traded John Birdie in a trade with the Yankees to pick up a couple of prospects. Hey, Jesse, glad to have you on. What's up?
Hey,
we're up here right tonight, Jesse. Glad to have you on. Question for George: are you going to watch the Masters this week? And I will give everybody a little bit of a preview that we will be talking a little bit about the Masters on Wednesday night, Sports Exchange.
Yeah, I'll be watching it. Tiger Woods is coming in, and what is it, 7 or 8 guys from that Live Tour, or maybe more than that?
From what I heard, the last count I heard was, I think, 13.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, that is a lot. I'm sorry I didn't know that many, but yeah, it'll be a fun time. It's a great tournament. I love it. The scenery, unbelievable.
But that will be a topic on Wednesday night Sports Exchange.
Sure.
All right. Mark,
hey, I'm not with you guys on Wednesday night. Here's a fun fact, though, I saw today. If Tiger Woods qualifies for the cut, he sets a record for 24 times, I believe it is, qualifying for the cut for the Masters.
Awesome.
Impressive stat. Appreciate it. Both of you guys are really on the money with your stats. So, all right, now let's some thoughts to Barbara about the Marlins. Not looking good early.
So, George, again, I'm going to ride George's coattail. I think we think a lot alike. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Okay. And I never really, unless you're one of those proverbial bottom dwellers like the Pittsburgh Pirates or something like that, I don't really get my feathers up in a gander early part of the season. I look at it as, you need to be playing some good ball by June, to be quite honest with you, end of May, beginning of June. One of the things that I believe we talked about, I can't remember if it was the first show, the second show, one of our early shows was how baseball in spring training should be gearing up. It was the last couple weeks. I don't think these guys get enough playing time. I don't think they get enough at bats together. I don't think a regular batting order comes into play until they get to the regular season. And I think that's impactful for a lot of these younger guys who are counted on early on because they had a good year the year before or 2 good years. You still got to provide them with some level of consistency. That's why you see bad football to start the season, most likely, because they don't play a lot of those veteran players until they get into regular season. And it holds very true, in my opinion, for baseball as well. They've got to get in the game. There's got to be a level of consistency. You've got to know who's batting in front of you, who's batting behind you, the style of batter they are, what you can expect from that guy, what's going to be expected of you, and you get up there and actually apply some of that skill that you have to meet that going into the season. I really attribute a lot of Miami's struggles to that. That's where I'm at with it.
Well, you both talk about something interesting, though. The one thing about baseball, the words you're going to hear more than any, well, they were counting on him to do this, counting on him to do that, so. Counting on are the key words, okay? Have a great year, counting on him to duplicate that. Doesn't happen that way. Baseball is too difficult to a sport to do that. Yet they have guaranteed contracts, but you just have to hope, pray, keep your fingers crossed. And if they're counting on it, because if you're counting on them and they produce and they're consistent, you're fine. If they don't, you got big problems.
Yeah.
And again, I think letting Kim In go was a huge mistake. And I think that Skip Schumacher wasn't happy about the move either. Oh, so you let the person who brought me in, who hired me, I don't know anything about Peter Bendix, okay? So now I interviewed with her, and Skip will just have to do the best he can to try to make the best of what situation he's in. He will get hired again. I'll say one thing about Marlins managers. When they leave, they do get hired again. Case in point, Joe Girardi had no trouble finding work. Don Mattingly, all right, he's with the Blue Jays now in a high role, but he'll manage again. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And the list goes on and on. So say what you want, but it'll be a long year, and Marlins attendance only figures to go down if the quality of the play continues, albeit a couple of key pitching injuries to start. But they need offense, and George Eichhorn read off a bunch of stats that are certainly not appetizing. Two more topics I want to get to tonight. No parting shots. National championship game tonight. Want to make sure we get you over there. Okay, so here we're gonna. This is one topic I've always wanted to talk about, but for me to do that, I feel that I've had to go out there and have a veteran crew, and I don't think I can do any better than you two anyway. So here's a question to both of you: should Tommy John be in the Hall of Fame? Let me go out there and break down his record. His record was 288 and 231 with a 3.34 ERA and 2,245 strikeouts. Now, he's known as the Bionic Man and, of course, Tommy John surgery. So, which is obviously, we're seeing too many of these injuries these days. So, George Eichhorn, give me your thoughts about whether Tommy John should be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, that's an interesting topic, Scott. I'm glad you brought it up tonight because Tommy John is one of those pitchers that, even though he lost quite a few games, he obviously was still above 500. You mentioned about the ERA. And listen, Jack Morris got in, and a lot of people didn't think Jack would. Jack got in, Morris did on the backs of the, veterans, old timers, whatever they call that modern era committee. They've got so many names for their committees at the Hall of Fame, but as you guys know, Morris and Trammell went into the same year. Listen, I'm as old as this. 1968, the Detroit Tigers were going to win the American League pennant. Tommy John threw a pitch that got the ire of second baseman Dick McAuliffe, and he was not happy. Dick McAuliffe charged the mound. This is a true story. Charged the mound, and Tommy John was injured by McAuliffe, out for the year with a brawl that broke out. And that's where Tommy John got his first severe injury against the Tigers because McAuliffe, the hot-headed second baseman for Detroit. That being said, when you put the whole thing in perspective, and like you said, Scott, I mean, my God, they named a surgery after him, which again is, not a happy thing. But it's improved so many players, and it's really helped save the careers of so many ball players. But when you look at the total picture, he had a lot of losing seasons with the White Sox. I mean, losing teams. But he kept his, he kept his record pretty good. I like this topic because I think he does deserve serious consideration. Morris got in, and you and I, Scott, have proposed that another pitcher named Mickey Lolich from that era should get a good look, but Tommy John definitely should get a serious consideration, I believe.
All right, back to the chat room before I turn over to Mark. First of all, Joshua Dorr, isn't Tommy John a surgeon? I wouldn't be surprised if you Google it, as they are common names. And he's got one sleepwear. I believe there's one of those, but not necessarily related. So good questions, because when you Google up what these guys just put out there, Tommy John is a popular name, albeit we're talking about the baseball version. Okay, Mark, go ahead.
When I look at some of the guys who are in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame recently, they don't compare to what John actually did in his career, to be honest with you. There's guys who are they're getting in because they don't have anybody else to put in, and I don't think that's right. A guy like Tommy John earned it. He played a number of years, very competitive pitcher. The old school mentality, he had to go out there and pitch more than 5 innings before the middle reliever, then the middle reliever, then the 8th inning guy, and then the closer came in. So these guys earned their wares. They earned their victories. And I have no problem with putting a pitcher like Tommy John in. And again, he transcended the game after having his injury into what it is today. We've got guys getting Tommy John surgery when they don't need it to try and prevent it from happening to them.
Right.
So in essence, he's as big to the game of baseball as Curt Flood, in my opinion, is in so many ways.
So here, you got a couple things here. Number one, I said he had 288 wins. So just say hypothetically, even though we know it'll never happen, okay, he's 80 years old. He had gotten 300 wins, you have a different conversation, don't you? Because 300 winner pitchers generally get in. Item number one. Number two, I also believe he belongs in the Hall of Fame because, in my opinion, he is a pioneer and a contributor of the game because of what you guys just mentioned, Tommy John surgery. So whether he gets in the Hall of Fame or he doesn't get in the Hall of Fame, this guy's going to be all over the map anyways because of the amount of careers he saved in addition to what he did with his own. Unfortunately, nowadays, pitchers, and I'll get into this next week, but I know that Tony Clark, the executive of the Major League Players Association, is blaming these injuries on the pitch clock being shorter. I'm not going to talk about tonight. We have too much to get to, but I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm not going there tonight. So, and Josh, I don't know how many stitches you get after Tommy John surgery. Serious? Okay, really? So you want to go ahead? You can research that one. Okay, I'm not touching that. I hate surgeries. I've only had 29 of them, but with all due respect, I do believe in my mind he should be in the Hall of Fame. But again, 300 wins puts you in a different category. It does. Surgery, we're there. All right, Mark, you know what? I'm going to let you take the lead on this last one. You mentioned it to me earlier. We'll go along with it. And after we get done here, everybody will have the opportunity to go out there and talk about what they do. And, of course, the national championship tonight is on CBS Sports. I believe Ian Eagle will be on the call with Bill Raftery and Grant Hill, and Tracy Wolfson will be on the sideline. So we'll go out there and pass the torch over to CBS shortly. But, all right, we talked about Shohei Ohtani hitting his first home run with the Dodgers, and the teams and the way the team handled it, I don't think it was very good. So, Mark, you take the lead on this.
So basically, number one, let me put this to you this way. I have lost a boatload of respect for Ohtani. Like, this is turning into a nightmare scenario with this guy because it seems like every time we turn around, there's something else that is underlying in what he does. But he hit his first home run, and immediately Dodgers people ran out to the woman who retrieved the home run, and they whisked her away, to my understanding. And they offered her a pittance, again, using that word, a pittance, but a couple of baseballs, a used bat, nothing offered was, I don't believe they even offered her anything signed. And they pressured her into giving that ball up for him without even thinking about it. Now, can you imagine what that ball would have got her on, let's just say, the open market, not even, asking for something from the Dodgers? I mean, to me, it's insane. Now, whether he's behind this or not, I'm not really sure. I know they probably wanted to get that baseball for him because he's their marquee player right now. But I have really, I have a bad taste in my mouth from all the things that are going on with this guy. He doesn't seem to be as likable to me as he was when he was playing with the Angels. He's taken on that Dodger mentality, I guess. I don't know what you want to call it. But, yeah, I'm open to hear what you guys have to say about it.
Well, you know what? I'm going to say a couple of things. I'll turn over to you, George. Number one, part of the Dodgers' issues were they were not going to it wasn't going to be authentic is what they were doing. That's how that they were going to go out there and threaten her to do it. So, no, I feel the Dodgers could have done much more for this fan instead of pressuring her to give it up the way they did. It could have. I think it's a public relations headache, but nowadays they don't particularly care, anyways. And yes, at least if those items would have been signed, then maybe it would cushion the blow. But no, this could have been handled better, and I'll leave it at that. All right, I'll turn it over to George.
Yeah, I'm not so sure, Mark, that I'm going to blame Ohtani on what things are going or that he's taken on a different personality. I think what's really weighing heavily on him, obvious now, is the situation with his interpreter and that the stealing of his money. That's going to be more than anything weighing on that young man. I do agree, though, that the Dodgers blew it. The situation got out of hand, and like you said, Mark, those were mere pittance that they were offering that lady in return. I don't care if it was a lady or a man, doesn't matter. But the fact of the matter is that then they realized afterwards they looked like stupid fools. I'm sorry to use that language, but they did. Right. And now they opened it up and gave her a little bit more. They gave her some more valuable things from after the initial stink that everybody deserved, that they deserved to receive, because it was kind of like a robbery situation. Whisk her off like she's a criminal or something. or take her behind the scenes so nobody could see what we give her. I mean, that just a silly, they just blew it. It was bad for the Dodgers family. But that being said, nothing can be more valuable than that ball itself. That ball itself, and she had every right to keep that ball. She had every right to get her, like you said, her own appraisals, whatever she was going to do with it on the resale market, on an online auction or whatever. Just hang on to it. So yeah, that kind of stuff really irks me because these fans, let's face it, they're diehard fans. Some of them they go to all these games. They're just looking for a little some fun, some bonus. And my God, what bigger bonus can you get by catching a home run ball, especially from a potential Hall of Famer? So, yeah, the Dodgers not well at all. Did not do well at all on this situation. But I still love the batter. I still love the enthusiasm he brings to the game. We'll see what you say, Mark. I'm not so sure that's going to happen, but I don't know.
George, he's one heck of a baseball player. There's no question about it. And I know he's not going to pitch this year. Hopefully he'll come back next year and pitch again, and he'll be that standout pitcher that he was, hopefully. But what's the worst you can do? Offer her 2 season tickets for the rest of her lifetime? What's that going to cost the Dodgers? That's not going to cost them anything for that. In fact, she's going to spend more money than those tickets would ever be worth. And like you said, like both you said, I frown upon baseball. As much as I love it, needs as much positiveness as it can possibly get with the amount of money that's spent and the amount of, the negative aura that surrounds it. And in so many ways, it needs as much positivity as it can get. And that certainly doesn't add to the positivity of baseball.
Okay, so let me close it on this note. Hopefully the Dodgers will understand here the negative talk that's going on around the country, and they'll say, hey, you know what, we could have done things a little different, and they try to get the situation straight. But Josh has a great comment that is grimy. I think that is grimy is probably a pretty good term to describe the way this whole situation looks. It really doesn't look very good at all. I don't like the look on it, but hopefully at some point or another, they'll think this thing through. You know what? We need to fix this public relations. I won't say mess, but to me, it's a bad PR look. And try to come to grips with this woman and see if they could up the ante just a little bit. If nothing else, it's not only a good move PR-wise for them, but it would also make the woman feel better as well. So I'm glad that you brought that up, Mark. And this is certainly the appropriate show to do it. Very proud of everybody in the chat room for their continuous contributions. Welcome, Ralph Williams. Glad to have you on as well. So with that said, as we get ready to go to the national championship, Mark, why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of you?
Well, you guys can reach me at the Original Sports Podcast at gmail.com. You can also follow me on every possible social media thing out there, anywhere from Instagram to Twitter, to X. I'm sorry, I almost called it Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I'm everywhere. And I'd love for you guys to tune in to us. We go every Tuesday evening at 7:05. Tomorrow we are having a special guest on the show, Matt Miller, a draft analyst from ESPN. So we got to go a little earlier tomorrow. If you don't catch us tomorrow there, you can watch us on Roku Tuesday nights from 9 to 10. We're under Elite Sports Entertainment Network.
Okay, now Joshua Dorr has an off-topic question. We have a few minutes for you to address it. So that question is, who do you have for the Stanley Cup?
Who do I have for the Stanley Cup?
Yeah.
It's hard to say Colorado's not going to make a run at it again. I think the Rangers have put themselves in a really good position right now. I do like what Florida's doing too. Florida's tough. I'm going to go Rangers and Colorado in the finals, and okay. I think it's going to be Colorado repeating.
Okay. All right, George, why don't you let everybody know how they get a hold of you?
Yeah. You can find me on the South Florida Tribune website. I write under the Motor City Tribune, and at the end of the columns, there's a little link here to my book called Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air. Scott and I are both in this book, and along with a lot of great celebrities and outstanding sportscasters in Michigan. And And also, I'm pleased to be honored to write the foreword for Scott's book as well. So make sure you get both books. You'll be really happy out there. Really, they're great opportunities for you to learn about the industry. You can reach me at gicorn@yahoo.com. You can reach me on LinkedIn as well under my name, and then also on Twitter, SandGSports99. Find me on one of these great programs, 108 Stitches, Pundits, the Sports Exchange, and Fire Up. I'm very honored and proud to be a part of the family, and you guys here on this show. Outstanding work. Thank you.
All right, let's go back to Blozo22. He says he's a Rangers guy. You know what? If I had to make a prediction on this, me personally, I would go with the Rangers. They look awfully good. They really do. So if for whatever my prediction's worth, I'm going to go with the New York Rangers to win it all. I really am.
I don't doubt you, Scott, but I also say that, like Mark, you were talking about Colorado. They seem to be on a mission too. There's a lot of great teams out there, but I'm telling you that Colorado team is awesome. I'm going to go with Colorado over the Rangers.
From top to bottom, they're fantastic. I think both of those teams are playing superior hockey right now. And somebody put up there, don't sleep on the Panthers. I'm not. I think the Panthers have a pretty well-oiled machine right now. This is the time of the year, these last 5 or 6 games in hockey. And I'm sorry, Scott, for taking us down the hockey path here, but I'll finish with this. This last 5 or 6 games are really going to tell you who's going to be grinding it out in the playoffs, in my opinion. The teams that go 5-1, 6-1, 5-2, whatever. Those are the teams that get into the playoffs and know how to win with a low score, tight checking game.
Yeah, the Florida Panthers will go as far as their goaltending takes them. That's all I'll say about them.
The Bob.
Right. If they have great goaltending, I could see where they could be considered a serious threat. But right now, my gut feeling is leaning on the Rangers. But it definitely, without a doubt, and every team, Josh, has rough stretches. I don't care. During the course of an 82-game season, you're going to have those 3 to 5, 6, 7-game skids. So that happens. But as far as I'm concerned, the Panthers will go as far as their goaltending will take them. You saw what happened when Bobrovsky was in the pipes last year at crunch time. Didn't hurt the Red Wings at all. They brought in Alex Lyon. He's the reason they're even being considered for the playoffs. Yep. So with that said, Candy, why don't you go ahead and take us home with all our information, and then we'll get ready for the national championship tonight as Purdue takes on Connecticut. Go ahead, Candy, take us home.
In the lower right-hand corner is a red subscribe button. If you see it, hit it, like us, share us with all your friends. Go to Mark's podcast and YouTube channel and like him, share his stuff too, because he's got some great content out there. If you listen to podcasts, go to iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, or wherever you get your podcasts. It could be Castbox, it could be Spotify, it could be Deezer. We're on all of them, or Geo7, any of those. Go ahead. Joshua, none of this would be happening if it wasn't for Candy. Oh, thank you, Josh. I enjoy that. Scott wrote a book. It is called Lessons from the Microphone, tuning into the enduring wisdom of visionary leaders. That wasn't easy for me to say the second time around, but hey, I got it out. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kindle, and Apple Books as well. Go out and get your copy today. You'll be able to see a picture of the young Scott with a young Muhammad Ali. And I'm going to leave it at that. That's my teaser to go buy that book. You can go to our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. You can see the writings of Scott and George. You can see my photography. We're going to have up there. We went and saw Inter Miami this past weekend, so I did take a picture of Lionel Messi did play, so there will be a picture of him up there. You'll have to go check that out. You can also, let's see, what else did I want to add into this mix? I think I hit it all, Scott. If you want to sponsor or advertise on any of our shows, call Scott, 954-304-4941. And if I missed anything, you can just replay the show, and all the information is on the bottom scrolling through. I think that's all it. Right. Back to you, Scott.
All right. You know what? That's pretty interesting. Okay. I want to bring this up here before we go off the air. Josh says he'd like to see a hockey show with Mark, George, and myself on it. we might be able to work that out at some point, not on Monday night. We'll have to see if the schedules permit. Most likely not Wednesday, but we could tinker around with a Thursday possibility if Mark's available on that night. So we'll keep it in mind. Everything's all subject for discussion as well. So, you know what? We have enough topics, and you guys want to bring on more people to make that show happen. And we'll do it maybe once in a blue moon. I believe we can go out there and make that happen. So, Josh, you got the wheels turning. So, Blozo, I'm on board with that one too. We'll see what happens. So, with that said, this does conclude this edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. On behalf of George Eichhorn, Candy Ebeling, Mark the Barber, Merritt I. My name is Scott Morgan, off the Motor City Madball. Thank you for joining us on this edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. Guess what? We'll see you next Monday. Have a good night, everybody.
Go enjoy the
Go
national
Boilermakers.
championship.
Yeah, national championship is coming up.